Good morning, children. In last class, we have studied the physical properties of metals and non-metals. So now, in today's class, we are going to study what is the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. So before that, we will see, finally, we will conclude the differences between the physical properties of metals and non-metals. So if we'll try to compare between the physical properties of metals and non-metals, we will compare the physical properties of metals and non-metals in the form of tabular column. So these physical properties can be used to distinguish between metals and non-metals. So if it comes to the main differences in physical properties of metals and non-metals, if we'll take the first one, so we know that if it comes to metals, so metals are malleable and they are ductile in nature. Metals are malleable and ductile in nature. Like that, if it comes to non-metals, non-metals are neither malleable nor ductile. Neither malleable nor ductile. Like that, if it comes to the metals, metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Good conductors of heat and electricity. See, so always some exception cases will be present. Now, here if it comes to non-metals, understanding. So, non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity. Poor conductors of heat and electricity, but except two things. One is diamond. So, diamond is a good conductor of heat and graphite is a good conductor of electricity. So, this is exemption. Understand? So, like that, metals are shiny in nature. Shiny, or else we used to call as lustrous. So, and if it comes to non-metals, non-metals are not shiny. Except one non-metal is there. That is, which one it is? I also forgot which one it is. Iodine, I think. Yeah, iodine. So non-metals are lustrous, not lustrous. They are not shiny. They are dull in appearance. Understand? So like that, if you take next one, metals are very strong in nature, except potassium and sodium. So this is the two metals which are weak in nature. Remaining all are very strong metals. Understand? So like that, if it comes to non-metals are not strong. Understanding? They are weak in nature. Understand? Except one case, that is diamond. So they are having a low tensile strength. And here if it comes to this one, the very high tensile strength. Like that, if it comes to the next difference, metals are sonorous in nature. They will make ringing sound when we stuck. Understand? When we beat with some other material. So like that, here they are not sonorous in nature. Like that, the last difference is metals are generally, they are very hard. Understand? Except they are very hard, except sodium and potassium. Understanding? Like that, if it comes to the non-metals are quite soft. Understanding? They are quite soft, except one is, that is diamond. So diamond is an extremely hard substance, naturally occurred hard substance. Diamond is the hardest substance. So this is difference between metals and non-metals. So an element can be identified as being a metal or a non-metal by comparing its properties with the general properties of metals and non-metals. So while doing so, we should, however, keep the various exemptions. Always, you have to remember, always various exemptions to the general properties of metals and non-metals in mind. Understanding? So if we'll remember that general exemptions, then only we can find either the given substance is metals or non-metals. So this is about the differences between metals and non-metals. Next, we are going to study chemical properties of metals and non-metals. So this is the main differences between metals and non-metals. So you guys, physical properties. So you guys need to study this all. So whenever they will ask you, write the differences between physical properties of metals and non-metals, you have to construct this table and you have to write at least minimum 6 properties. Understood? So the next we are going to study chemical properties of metals and non-metals. So if you'll come to the next concept, that is chemical properties of metals and non-metals. So we are having a metals and non-metals show different chemical properties. So some of the important chemical properties of metals and non-metals are that the first one is reaction with oxygen. So this is our first chemical properties of metals and non-metals. So if we'll react the metals with oxygen, how they will react? If we'll react the non-metals with oxygen, how they will react? So that is our first chemical reaction. Now let me keep heading that reaction with oxygen. So if you'll observe here, first one. So reaction with oxygen, what we'll keep? We'll keep metals. So if we'll take sub Roman number 1, so metals react with oxygen to form metal oxides. You remember. So any kind of metal, if it will react with understanding oxygen, then it will form metal oxides. You remember. So metals react with oxygen. I will explain you very slowly because from now onwards you are going to write chemical equations, chemical symbols, everything. Understanding. So you be understand carefully. So metals react with oxygen to form metallic oxides. Metallic oxides. Understand? Even metallic, not metal oxides. You just remember metal oxides. So metal oxides are basically, they are basic in nature. So these metal oxides are basic in nature. Basic in nature. See, in class 7th you have studied that acid, bases and salts. Correct or not? So these metal oxides, they are having a basic in nature. This is most important one. Understanding? So you remember. So whatever the metal oxides forming by reaction with oxygen, so they all are basic oxides. So metal oxides also we can call as basic oxide. So this is the same definition I'm writing in the form of equation. So if any kind of metal, understand, this is a common equation for metals reacting with oxygen. So metal, if it will react with oxygen, OXY, oxygen will come from where? It will come from air. Understanding? So they will form metal oxides. They will form metal oxides. So this is only called as basic oxide. Understanding? They are basic in nature. Means they will convert red litmus into blue litmus. That is why they are in basic in nature. Red litmus into blue litmus. So that is why it is basic in nature. So suppose if you'll burning, the burning metals react with oxygen to form basic oxide. So any kind of metal, if you'll burn, understand, if you'll keep the fire, then it will burn with the help of oxygen from the atmosphere, because we know that oxygen is the only supporter of combustion or burning reaction. Understand? So without oxygen supply, we cannot even burn anything. Understand? So if you'll burning metal react with oxygen, they will form metallic oxides are metal oxides are basic oxides. So these basic metal oxides, they will turn red litmus into blue litmus. So blue color. So that is why it is called as basic oxide. So even this property will be more clear if I will explain with one example. So for this we have to do small activity. Once our school will be reopened, for that I will show you that activity also. Now for this I am taking a magnesium metal. Understand? So for that activity, so let me take example number 1. Understanding? So I am taking magnesium is a metal. So now basically this magnesium is present in the form of wires. Understand, like a wire gauge which is present in our lab. So you just to take a small piece of understanding this magnesium metal. Understanding, hold it with a pair of tongues. So to do this activity, we need to take a magnesium is a metal. So we take a magnesium wire basically. So the magnesium will be present in the form of like a normal wires. So you take a small piece of magnesium wire. So that magnesium wire will be present like a strips. Understand? Small like a strips it will be present. So you just take that a small piece of magnesium, understanding. So basically it will be present in the forms of rings, understand. So you just take small piece of magnesium strip and hold hold this with a pair of tongues, because if because we are going to fire this one, so we should not hold with the hand. So you have to keep with the help of holder or something, understanding. So you just keep a help of holder and you just hold it. Next, this is called as pair of tongues, understand, and heat it over a flame. So if we'll start keeping the flame, then we used to see that magnesium wire burns vigorously, means it will burn very rapidly, vigorously. This is the word we have to learn, understanding. So in chemistry, usually we used to get this word, vigorously. So vigorously means like a very fast, rapid reaction, vigorously producing a bright white light to form an ash. So this magnesium ribbon, once it will catch fire, it will utilize the oxygen from the air and it will burn, understanding, vigorously producing a bright white light, understanding. So bright white light to form an ash. So it will form the ash. It will form the ash. So this is only which is called as magnesium oxide. So once, see, before burning, this is called as magnesium. Now once it will burn vigorously with a white bright light, understanding, a bright white color light. So this light only we used to call even dazzling light, DAZZLING, dazzling light we can call it. A white flame of light is called as dazzling light. So once it will burn, it will form a some kind of white color ash. So that ash, which is magnesium oxide, which is magnesium oxide, understanding. So now we put this magnesium oxide ash in a boiling tube, or else it's like a normal test tube. Boiling tube means some kind of test tube, understand. We'll put this magnesium oxide, that white color ash, in this boiling test tube, and we'll add a little water in the boiling tube and we will shake it very well. Why we are doing that? Because we need to test that it is in basic nature or else acidic in nature, understanding. So now we will find that magnesium oxide dissolves in water partially. So now we will add some red litmus solution to the boiling tube or else red litmus paper to the boiling tube, and we can observe the change in color, understand. So we will see that the red litmus turns into blue color. So it is indicating it is basic in nature. So this shows that magnesium oxide is basic in nature, because only basic substances turns red litmus into blue litmus, red litmus into blue color, understanding. So from this activity we can conclude that magnesium is a metal which forms basic oxide. The basic oxide is called as what? Magnesium oxide, and burning in air, understand. So this basic magnesium oxide turns red litmus to blue. So this is the activity which we have done, we need to do in our laboratory also, understand. But here is it's like what this activity is with the help of fire. So you have to be a little careful. You have to hold this magnesium strip with the holder, understanding. We can call it as a pair of tongues, understanding, and later only you have to keep a fire for that. Okay, don't try to catch with the hand and all, because that severe action, because it's a burning action, is very dangerous. So now this is about this activity of magnesium is converting into magnesium oxide, understanding. So now we'll see the chemical reaction which is involved in this activity, understand. So if it comes to the chemical reaction involved in this activity, if you'll observe carefully, see, now you maybe don't know the symbols of some elements, understanding, but in higher classes you will study. Now you need to just remember the symbols directly. Okay, so anyhow, when magnesium burns in air, it combines with the oxygen of air to form magnesium oxide, so which is in basic oxide, correct or not? So if it comes to the reaction, chemical reaction, so we know that how we'll write magnesium. So magnesium is a what? Metal which is reacting, burning in the presence of oxygen, understanding. So oxygen, so which will give magnesium oxide, magnesium oxide. So this is what we used to call basically word equation. We are writing the chemical equation in the form of word. So if we represent this in the form of symbols, then that is called as chemical equation, understanding. So now we know that magnesium symbol is, I'm writing you directly the symbols, you just need to remember. So magnesium, Mg, so it is a metal, understanding. So like that, if it will react with oxygen, oxygen basically will represent with the O2. Understand? So O2, so if it will react, then it will form magnesium oxide. The formula is MgO. See how I am writing? G is a small letter, M and O is capital letter. So MgO, I am writing MgO. So this is the reaction which is involved in a stage 1. So let me keep this is A. So now this magnesium oxide, if it will dissolve in water partially, then this magnesium oxide, it will dissolve with the water and it will form another substance that is only called as magnesium hydroxide. See, now whatever the magnesium oxide which is you have got, that we cannot test either it is basic in nature or acidic in nature. So now I will dissolve that in some little amount of water. Understanding? So to test that either it is a nature of that, either it is basic nature or acidic nature. Now if you take magnesium oxide, whatever you have got in reaction 1, you just take that magnesium oxide, understanding, reacting with water. If you try to dissolve this ash in water, then again this magnesium oxide will dissolve in water and it will form magnesium hydroxide. Now water is adding, so it will turns into magnesium hydroxide. Understand? So we know that magnesium oxide formula is what? MgO is the magnesium oxide formula and water H2O. So if this reaction will be taking place, once this magnesium oxide dissolve with water, it will form magnesium hydroxide. See, this is a little bit new to you. Remember, magnesium hydroxide we used to write MgOH twice. So this we used to read as a twice, you remember. So why we are writing magnesium hydroxide like this? This all we'll study in class 9. Now you guys need to just remember the formula, magnesium hydroxide. So how we used to read this? Magnesium Mg, understanding, MgOH twice, base you just remember. So MgOH twice we have to read it. That is called as magnesium hydroxide, which is basic in nature, which is a base. Understanding? So magnesium hydroxide turns red litmus to blue, showing that it is a base and the magnesium oxide is a basic oxide. Understanding? So magnesium oxide is a basic oxide and magnesium hydroxide is a basic hydroxide. So not only this one, every kind of metal, any kind of metal, if it will react with oxygen, it will form basic oxide only. Understanding? So now similarly, if we'll take sodium. So sodium is a metal which forms basic oxide, that is sodium oxide. So if sodium symbol is Na, you remember, not N, not S. Understanding? So yes, we have taken a symbol for sulfur. That is the thing I am saying to you. Now you just remember the symbols directly. Later I will say in class 9th we will study why it is coming. Understanding? For sodium Na, why it is sulfur S and all. Okay. So now you don't even get confused. So now if it comes to the sodium, so sodium will react with, if you want I will write it. So sodium, if you burn this in the presence of oxygen, then it will form sodium oxide. So if you write now the symbols, sodium symbol is Na, understanding, and oxygen is O2. So if you used to try to react this, we used to get sodium oxide. So the sodium oxide formula is Na2. So this is the sodium oxide formula. So a solution of sodium oxide in water turns again red litmus to blue. Understanding? Red litmus to blue color. So it is also basic in nature. So you please note that when we want to react a metal with oxygen, we usually burn the metal in air. So whenever you want to reaction with a metal with oxygen, you need to just usually burning that metal in air. Then we used to get metal oxides. Understand? So it is the oxygen present in air which combines with the metal and burning to form metal oxide. Okay. So we will now discuss the reaction of suppose let me take iron metal with oxygen of air, which takes place in nature. Basically you have studied in your class 7th rusting. Yeah, you may heard that rusting of iron. So rusting of iron is also the same thing. So basically if you want to form a metal oxides, we used to burn in the presence of air, but a few without burning also will take place. For example, if you take iron, so iron symbol is Fe. You remember, iron symbol is Fe. Fe is a Latin word which we have taken. Iron we used to call as a ferrous in Latin. So that is why we have taken Fe is the iron. Understand? So iron I, we have not taken I because iodine symbol is I. So that is just I am saying you that. So in later in class 9th, we will study more even clearly. Understand? So now rusting of iron, if it comes to, this is a natural process which is occurred in nature with the help of oxygen and moisture. We know that in class 7th we have studied what is the required conditions of rusting of iron. So now during this rusting of iron metal combines slowly with the oxygen of air in the presence of water. So water is also present where? It is also present in the atmosphere only in the form of moisture, gaseous state we used to call, to form a compound called as iron oxide. So this iron oxide is called as, we used to call as rust. Understanding? R-U-S-T, rust. So this reaction of iron metal with oxygen in the presence of water, we used to write like this. So iron. So I will write first word equation. See, what is the rusting of iron? Anyhow, class 7th, you have already studied preventive techniques of rusting of iron and all. Even I only has taught you. So if you take iron, so iron is symbol is what? Fe. If you leave for the atmosphere, if you leave it without any protection, then it will slowly reacting with oxygen which is present in the air, and also it will start reacting with the water which is present in atmosphere. So this is called as, we used to call as damp air. Understanding? Like a moist air we used to call. So these are the two required conditions for rusting of iron. So without oxygen or without water, rusting of iron cannot be takes place, or else oxygen is present, water is present. If iron metal is not present, then also rusting will be won't takes place. So this air is called as damp air. So then iron will start forming a compound called as iron oxide. Iron oxide. So this iron oxide is only called as rust. So iron oxide formula is Fe2O3. You just need to remember. Understanding? I'm saying you simply. So Fe2O3, this is only we used to called as rust. This is called as basic oxide. This is called as basic oxide. So this is without burning, which is forming a basic oxide. So for this also we can do some activity. Understanding? So for that also now we'll describe an activity to show that iron oxide, which is called as what? Rust, is basic in nature. Understand? So now I will explain some activity to prove that this iron oxide, which is rust, forming in due to the damp air, understanding, is basic in nature. So now for that what we will do, just take a spoonful of rust from any rusted iron object. Just take a, it will be like a brown color, reddish brown color. So just take some kind of a spoon. Understanding? So take this kind of rust powder in any kind of spoon and just take rust powder. Understand? So in a test tube, just take a spoonful of rust powder in a test tube. Test tube. Add a little of water and shake it well. So just pour little amount of water and you just shake well. Shake well because it needs to dissolve a little amount. So in this way we will get a suspension of iron oxide in water. Means these iron particles cannot dissolve in water completely, so they used to float inside the water. So that is only we used to call as suspension. Understanding? So the floating of particles inside any kind of liquid is called as suspension of iron oxide. Suspension. So this is a suspension of iron oxide in water. So now test this suspension of iron oxide with the blue litmus paper and red litmus paper one by one. So we will find that the red litmus paper will turns into red litmus turns blue. So and blue litmus, no reaction with this. So this shows that iron oxide suspension is basic in nature, because only basic substances, they will turn red litmus to blue. Understand? So from this activity we can conclude that iron metal forms a basic oxide, that is only called as iron oxide. We used to call as iron oxide. Understanding? So on reaction with oxygen of air. Understand? So this is, we can say that this rust is a basic in nature. Rust is basic in nature. Understood? So now like this, even we can discuss one more metal, which is usually we used to observe in our nature. That is, we'll describe an reaction of copper metal with moist air or else damp air, which will takes place in our nature. So if basically if you'll observe copper metal also, if you leave it a few years or few days, few months in atmosphere, a greenish color substance is forming on its surface. Means this copper surface, we used to observe that a green color coating, a green substance. So that is only called as rusting of copper. Understanding? So now we will see that when a copper object is exposed to moist air for a long time, then copper also react with moisture, means water and carbon dioxide and also oxygen present in moist air. Iron only will react with water and oxygen, but this copper will react along with the oxygen and water. It will react with the carbon dioxide, which is also present in moist air, to form a green color coating, a green coating on the copper object. So this green coating or else a green material is a mixture of, understanding, copper hydroxide, like magnesium hydroxide. Have you remembered like that? So here it is this green color coating. If you test it, it contains two kinds of substances. That is why it is a mixture of copper hydroxide. I will write the chemical equation. Understanding, copper hydroxide, and also it is contains, understanding, copper carbonate. It also contains copper hydroxide and copper carbonate, which is formed by the action of moist air on copper object. Moist air on copper object. Now, if you take that reaction, so copper symbol is Cu. So copper, if you leave for a long period of time in atmosphere, so it will react with oxygen, understanding, carbon dioxide and water, which is present in, understanding. So these three substances, which is present in where? Which is present in moist air. Moist air, or also is called as damp air. So which used to form a two products, mixture of a green color substance and green coating. So it contains the two substances that is called as copper hydroxide. So copper hydroxide we used to write CuOH twice. Understanding, copper hydroxide formula is CuOH twice plus copper carbonate formula is CuCO3. So this is called as chemical formulas. Understanding, copper carbonate, copper hydroxide. If you want, you just note it down. So this both is a mixture of what we used to call, it is only called as green coating. It's called as green coating. So that is why when a copper vessel is exposed to moist air for a long time, it acquires a green coating on its surface. So the mixture of copper hydroxide and copper carbonate, which forms the green coating, is commonly known as the basic copper carbonate. We used to call it as basic copper carbonate. Basic copper carbonate, because it is basic in nature. Understand? So if you make a suspension of a little of green coating like iron oxide, understanding, from a copper coating, copper vessel, if you remove that green coating and if you mix with the water and test it with a litmus paper, again we will find that it turns red litmus paper to blue. So this shows that the green coating formed on a copper vessel or any other copper object is basic in nature. Understanding? So the formation of green coating of basic copper carbonate on the surface of copper objects and exposure to moist air is called corrosion of copper. Understanding? If iron, it is called as rusting of iron. If it comes to the rusting of copper, that is called as corrosion. Understanding? CORROSION. Corrosion of copper. Corrosion of copper. So while iron rust, understanding, other metals also, they will corrosion will takes place. That basically we used to call it as corrode. So most of the metals, they will corrode in nature when we'll expose to atmosphere. Understanding? So this is about reaction with oxygen. Understand? Metals reacting with oxygen. So now if it comes to the non-metals, so non-metals also will react with oxygen, and we'll see what are the products it will form. So anyhow, metals will react with oxygen and it will forming the basic oxides. Means non-metals are opposite to metals, so they will form opposite oxides called as acetic oxide. So if we'll keep Roman number 2, so non-metals now. So non-metals react with oxygen to form non-metal oxides. Understanding? So non-metal non-metals react with oxygen to form, understanding, non-metal oxides, to form non-metal oxides, understanding. So non-metal oxides are acidic in nature. So they are acidic in nature because metal oxides are basic in nature. So this will become acidic in nature, understanding. So if we make a chemical equation for that, so non-metal, understanding, so non-metal plus it will react with oxygen, understanding. So oxygen from where? From air. So it used to give acetic oxide, that is only we used to call as non-metal oxide. Non-metal oxide, which is we used to call as acetic oxide. Acetic oxide. So non-metals react with oxygen to form acidic oxide. So we can say that acidic non-metal oxides turns which litmus to which litmus? They will turns to blue litmus to red color. Understanding. So that is why we used to call it as. So these are acidic oxides. Even this this will be more even clear when we will do some activity. So for that you just take this activity. We need to take sulfur. So we know that sulfur. So sulfur is a what? Sulfur is a non-metal. So sulfur is a non-metal. So if we take the sulfur, we'll take a small amount of sulfur powder in a, understanding, a small, like what we can say that a deflagrating spoon, understanding, like the spoon will be like this. In a chemistry laboratory you can observe like this. It will be this is spoon we used to call as deflagratory spoon. It is having a small kind of like this, like a spatula it will be. So we'll take a small, just a small amount of sulfur, understanding, in deflagrating spoon. You just need to remember this is DEFLAGRATING, deflagrating spoon, and heat it over a flame. Directly you just take a small amount of with this spoon and you just try to keep heat it over a flame. So now as soon as sulfur starts burning with a blue flame, understanding, so we introduce the deflagrating spoon in a gas jar, understanding, and allow the sulfur to burn inside the gas jar, understanding. So as soon as this sulfur starts burning with a blue flame, see, directly will creep on the flame. So suddenly this sulfur will start burning, catching the fire, understanding. So now we will slowly that we will introduce whenever it is catching this whenever it will catch the fire and it will start burning with a blue flame. Now this burning sulfur we will take into some gas jar, understand, because to collect that ash we have to test that gas jar and allow the sulfur to burn inside the gas jar, understand. So now cover the gas jar with the lid to prevent the gas being formed from escaping. So actually burning sulfur will produce not a solid substance, it will produce gaseous substance. So if we'll leave it for atmosphere, then it will escape into atmosphere. That is why we are keeping in a gas jar, and whenever it is burning, immediately you need to cover with a lid, because that whatever the gas which is releasing in the burning of sulfur, they should not escape into the atmosphere. So sulfur burns in the air of gas jar to form a pungent smelling gas, understanding. Pungent means a very foul smell, which like a what we can say that this rotten eggs, like that smell. So now even I will show you that how we have to do that activity. So you just take a, understanding, some kind of a spoon which is looking like this, like the same color of it is having a some kind of, understanding. So this is a spoon, it will be looking like that. So I am taking a sulfur powder. So sulfur powder basically it will be in yellowish color, understanding. So I am taking this. Now this is called as sulfur, understanding. For this activity, this is called as combustion spoon, or else we can call it as deflagrating spoon, understanding. So now if I'll start heating, I'll start heating, then what is going to happen? This sulfur will catch fire and it will start burning with a a blue flame. So now at this situation, this direct spoon, you just place, understanding, at some glass jar. Immediately you just place this spoon at some glass jar. So here sulfur is burning. Sulfur is burning, and close this lid. Keep it inside completely, understanding. So and close this lid. So now here burning is taking place. So burning sulfur. This is called as burning sulfur. Burning sulfur. Understanding. So this is called as gas jar. Because gas cannot, we cannot catch it. That is why we are collecting in a gas jar. So now after burning, so if you observe this gas jar, so it is completely filled with what? Some kind of gas which is released in this burning reaction. So that is only called as sulfur dioxide gas. So this cylinder now is filled with sulfur dioxide gas. So which is basically how we can test that is it a sulfur dioxide gas or not. So it will produce as pungent smell, or else we used to call it as a very bad smell. Understanding? So that smelling, pungent smelling gas. So remove the, once if it will burns, you remove this deflagrating spoon from the gas jar. So now we will put some water in this gas jar. Immediately we will add water in this gas jar and cover it with a lid. Understanding? Because within fraction of seconds you have to do, because otherwise this gas will be escaping. So once fastly how to remove this spoon, and you have to pour little amount of water and you need to shake it well. So what is going to happen? This sulfur dioxide gas will dissolve in water. Now add some, understanding, a blue litmus solution. So here you cannot take litmus papers, understand, because basically litmus solutions also we are having. So you just keep the blue litmus solution to the gas jar. So now we will see that the blue litmus solution turns into red color. So why we are not using here litmus paper? Because it is a dissolved gas. So if you try to take that litmus paper and try to keep in inside that solution, so by the time the gas will escape. So that is why immediately we just add the blue litmus solution, and you can see that the solution will turns into, understanding, so blue litmus solution to the gas jar. So we will see that the blue litmus solution turns to red. So this shows that sulfur dioxide gas is acidic in nature, because only acidic substances can turn blue litmus to red. So from this activity we can conclude that sulfur is a non-metal which forms an acidic oxide, understanding, that is called as what? Sulfur dioxide, and burning in air. Understanding? Even this activity also we can do in our laboratory. Understanding? So now if we'll write a chemical equation for this, exactly like magnesium, see how it will be. So if we'll take sulfur, so I have taught you that what is the symbol of sulfur? Symbol of sulfur is what? Yes. So first I will write first stage one. Understand? So reaction is again two parts. One is first reaction, we have to take we have to form sulfur dioxide. Later we have to dissolve in water. That is, so if we'll take sulfur what? Sulfur, understanding, reacting with oxygen, and it will form sulfur dioxide. It will form sulfur dioxide. Understanding? So if you'll observe, what is the symbol of sulfur? Symbol of sulfur is S. Understanding? And oxygen symbol is O2, and it will form sulfur dioxide, that is SO2. Sulfur dioxide formula is SO2. Understanding? This is called as acetic oxide. Acetic oxide. Now, if you want to test either it is acidic in nature or basic in nature, we have to, understand, we have to add water for the sulfur dioxide. So I am taking the second step. I am taking the sulfur dioxide and I am adding the water. I am adding the water, so it will form sulfurous acid. We used to get a substance called as sulfurous. You may have heard that sulfuric acid. So this is like also the same thing, sulfurous acid we used to call. So if you observe carefully here, SO2. SO2 means what? Sulfur dioxide, which is reacting with water, that is called as H2O. So it will form an understanding, an acid called as H2SO3. H2SO3. So this is only called as acid. So that is why it is acidic in nature. So it will turn blue litmus to red color. So this sulfurous acid, understanding, H2SO3, formulas is most important. Sulfurous acid turns blue litmus to red, showing that it is an acid and that sulfur dioxide is acidic in nature. Understanding? So similarly, if we'll take carbon, carbon is a non-metal which forms an acidic oxide, that is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is also acidic in nature. Understanding? So a solution of carbon dioxide in water turns blue litmus to red. So from this all discussion, understanding, we can conclude that metals form metal oxides on burning in air. Understanding? So metal oxides are basic in nature and they will turns red litmus to blue color. Like that, if it comes to non-metals form non-metal oxides. Understanding? Non-metal oxides on burning in air. So non-metal oxides are acidic in nature and they will turn blue litmus to red. Understand? So this property of the nature of oxides can be used to identify whether the given element is a metal or non-metal. Basically, understanding? So if an element forms a basic oxide which turns red litmus to blue, then that element will be a metal. If the element forms an acidic oxide which turns blue litmus to red, then the element will be a non-metal. Understanding? So we have already studied acids and bases in class 7th. Okay, so we can now understand metal oxides are basic in nature and they will form, understanding, and they will form bases on dissolving in water. Understanding? Like that, non-metal oxides are acidic in nature and they will form acids on dissolving in water. So you have to remember that metal oxides will dissolve in water and they will form bases. Like that, non-metal oxides, they will dissolve in water and they will form acids. Understanding? So like this, this is the first chemical properties of metals and non-metals, that is reaction with oxygen. So with this, I'm going to end this today's session. In next class, we are going to study the next chemical properties of metals and non-metals. Thank you.